What's your favorite food right now, Adam?
Right now?
At this very moment.
Right now, my favorite food is...
Or like, what are you even into?
I've liked sushi more recently. Mm-hmm. That's like my rising star. That's like, you know that internet meme with like the boyfriend holding the girl's hand but then checking out the other girl?
Oh, yeah, that's a good meme.
I forget the name of it, but we know
I
it.
didn't know there was a title.
Yeah, so there's so that sushi is like the other girl.
Got it. What's the girl? What's your current girlfriend food?
You are my wife.
Well, but what's
my Allie pal of food?
Yeah.
The cheesy brisket crunch from Service Bar is my number one.
I thought maybe
food.
you were going to say like the current girl looking at you looking at the other sushi would be like a type of food like pizza.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, pizza is pretty good.
Yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like sushi.
Oh, that's true, because I went from like a general topic to
like a specific
That's
dish.
confusing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, listeners. This is
it could still be
my own standards.
It could still be true. Yeah, I really like sushi. I think if you are okay with like seaweed or fish, you could get like veggie sushi, raw, cooked. You could get dessert sushi.
There's like also like a freshness to it that the rice brings that is just, even if it's not super fresh sushi, it's still...
Yeah. I bet it's hard for people though who don't like their food mixed, because it's like literally just like a roll of a bunch of stuff, which is like, I love mixed.
So last night, you and myself, actually you kind of crashed me and my brother's event where we were event.
Oh,
that's
it was
weird.
An event?
Well, we were going to get sushi.
Yeah.
And then you were around.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I want to go.
Yeah.
I think I invited you, actually. I don't think you like forced yourself
I'm
into
glad
it.
that you're starting to remember the details.
I asked you to come with us.
Yeah.
And we went to a place by our house that has sushi. And the name of it is escaping me right now.
1126.
1126, which I think is the address.
Probably, yeah. If it isn't, then that's
maybe it's the year. That was the year sushi was invented.
Maybe.
We'll never
I wasn't
know.
around.
There's no way of knowing. So we went there, and they have some really standard sushi rolls, like a spicy tuna roll or, like the basics. But then they also have some like signature rolls that are a little bit more over the top. And then they have this one that's on the appetizer menu that you had that is like...
Oh, yeah, that was
the most.
Yeah, it's like crispy rice with spicy tuna on top, and then truffle oil.
Yeah, so there's truffle oil on it.
It's definitely unique.
It's
good.
Really good.
Really good.
Yeah,
but I love a crispy rice.
So it's beautiful.
Anyways,
let's get into today's topic. If you don't know who we are, my name is Adam.
I'm Allie.
And we have a business called The Wonder Jam.
Yep.
And that business does...
We do marketing, design, photography, coaching,
advertising,
workshops, copywriting,
friendship,
social media.
We provide friendship for people.
Coding for small businesses.
Yeah. We do all those.
Yeah. We also give them drinks if they come in.
We roast coffee for them.
We kind of do a lot.
Talk to them about their problems.
We could be called the... no, that's... We
could be called the... So there's this thing... so we work a lot with the impersonal parts of business. Like someone's... Like things just need to get done. They need to get made. It needs to get put in front of a business's clients. But because we work with small businesses, for a lot of people who are starting, it's personal. Like they care a lot about how things look. Not just from like will this help me raise my conversion rate 3% or raise my whatever. It's like I care about how this looks. It's personal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so one of our business heroes, Kathleen Kelly.
Yes, we love Kathleen Kelly.
We love Kathleen Kelly.
She owns this she owns this bookstore called Shop Around the Corner in a movie called You've Got Mail.
Right. Yeah. She's not necessarily our business inspo in like...
She went out of business.
She went out of business, was taken out by...
No, but you can still have a hero even if they don't conform.
She fell in love with the people who took her out of business, though.
But you don't have to conform to society standards of what success looks like.
Yeah.
She probably was happier.
Some businesses end at some point, and that's okay. There's no problem.
Right.
So she has this line in it where she's being advised, like, it's not business.
It's not
personal.
It's
business.
Yep.
Right. And then she has this beautiful line.
She talks about how, if anything, it should start with it should be personal.
Yeah.
Like, this is a personal
If it should
thing.
be anything.
Yeah.
What is it if it's not personal? Right. And
right.
which we really resonate with. And we've, in a bunch of ways, decided to be personal with our business. And a lot of people who work with us kind of have some of that same thing going on as well.
Yes. And I will say that's different than saying that what you do is like your identity, or like, because I separate that, but it's still personal. This is like my life. True.
So then and that's really fun and beautiful and romantic, and all those things are great. Flip side of that, the scary, ugly underbelly of caring about your business in a personal way is that your feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
They do.
When somebody else is operating off this is just business.
Or personal.
Yeah. Your feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if any of you listening have ever had hurt feelings before, but it doesn't feel good. If you haven't,
I am seeking a robot that could be my personal assistant, so please inquire. But yes, that is very true.
It's very true. So I wanted to do a thing today because we've had some of our clients who are client friends, some of our clients who come in and talk about whatever they want to talk about. And you can tell their feelings are hurt. And sometimes it takes like that being the first thing, whether it's some kind of partnership that's ending, whether it's someone who's on their team has found a different job to go to, whether it's a person who used to buy their stuff but doesn't buy their stuff anymore, or any of those things, right? Like, there's all these things that can hurt a person's feelings. And today, Allie and I wanted to spend a minute and just remind you all of some things.
True.
Right? Because we watch people go through this, and it can take the wind out of your sails. It can deflate your balloon. It can
deflate your blimp.
It can deflate.
I don't know if a blimp is.
Yeah, well, we don't have a balloon. We don't have a balloon. I have a blimp, so yeah. So if you can relate to the blimp analogy,
if you fly blimps, you get it.
Yeah. To all of our blimp flying listeners,
which there aren't a lot. I listened to a whole podcast, and there's only like 9 people that can drive a blimp.
Yeah.
I mean, fly.
Right.
Or drive.
So if you're looking to break into an industry that is desperately looking for new people,
check it out.
Blimp flyers.
Yep.
Is one.
So
thank you for taking me down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So what do we say to those people?
Well, what I say to those people is, it's not personal. It's just business.
Oh no, full circle.
No. What I say to those people is, you can move on, and that happens, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think the hard part is, when you're in like a friendship or a romantic relationship, or you have family, there's a lot of context into what ultimately should happen. Is it should last forever if it works out well. Like, not that friends have to last forever, but it feels as if in business, when you get your feelings hurt, or you feel offended or confused, sometimes there's contracts involved. Sometimes there's like collaborations in the works where, your finances might be affected, or someone doesn't really owe it to you to ever talk to you again. Like, I think it's a lot murkier. Whereas if, you, Adam, my husband, hurts my feelings, like, I'm going to have to see you tomorrow in the context of our home.
You're right.
When we're paying bills or, eating breakfast. So I think that there's a lot of just weird circumstances that can happen because business relationships are different, even though they're personal.
There is some obligation,
or no
contractually,
obligation.
or there's something, right?
Yep.
You come to expect that.
Yep.
These are just some questions that if you find yourself being like, my feelings are hurt in my business, these are some questions I would ask you to help you like process your own feelings.
Yeah.
Because I think it's okay to have your feelings hurt. It's okay to like be upset if we're going to have a personal business, but I want to think through, how do we process those in a healthy way, and how do we learn what we need to learn from them, and how do we do whatever there is to do. Right?
Seems good.
So the first thing would be, what what's the top end of what this relationship or this thing could grow into? Almost like, what did we expect to have happen?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times in friendships or in working with clients, like did a client expect or a customer expect you to like grow into their best friend?
Yeah.
And then like move in with them and then buy homes together and like get tombstones next to each other and live your whole life together like happy old friends? Is that where we thought this thing was going, or did one person think it was going there and another one didn't? You know, when clients work with us, we work really hard to not have one client make up all of our revenue, and so there are a lot of clients that we work with, and so if somebody thought that they were the only person that we worked with or the only person we were paying attention to at the moment,
expectations, like what you're saying is like, what did you each expect? And looking back on interactions or conversations, like, can you pick up on that?
Yeah. Because
we don't always say it.
Right.
I'm not always like, hey, I want my tombstone next to you. Let's sign this contract.
Right. Yeah. That actually was in Allie and I's wedding vows.
Yeah.
We said, we want our tombstone next to you.
Oh, I'm going to be cremated, though.
Oh, right.
Does that break my vow?
No.
We didn't actually say it, so it doesn't matter.
Don't.
It was a joke.
You're just telling everyone that I made this up. Right. But like, what did we think this was going? And did we have an unrealistic expectation, or did we think this was going somewhere that it couldn't possibly go?
Are you
and
suggesting
now our feelings are hurt because?
Well, I was going to say, are you suggesting that you talk about this, or do you just think about it in your own head? Like, are you establishing this expectation? Are you having like, hey, what did we?
I'm imagining that a friend of ours, a client of ours, has their feelings hurt.
Got it.
And they
can just think on it.
Scroll back to this.
Yeah.
And they listen to it to be like, okay, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
I
like that.
Or they can be like, I'm going to make some new boundaries.
Right.
Right?
True.
What do you give some advice?
So I think that for me, it's good to allow there to be a little bit of time in between the moment my feelings are hurt and actually communicating to that person, that
Let
professional
simmer
person.
A little bit.
I think of it less like simmer and more like cool down. So, like, I don't want to try to get more upset. I want to try to be more, like, level-headed when I finally talk. Because when I get my feelings hurt, I'm not just sad. Sometimes I'm mad. And sometimes I'm frustrated. Other times I'm confused. You know, so I think letting it cool down a bit, and for me to maybe talk through it with some people who are close to me. So whether it's, like, my business partner, which would be you, or my sister who, like, might not have any, like, obviously she's biased and that she will probably take my side, but just someone who can hear the experience or the situation, but I'm not looking for feedback. I think it's just talking about it out loud, because after a while you can say, like, I can understand why this was confusing.
You need a person to vent to.
Yeah.
You need a person to like express maybe the most raw version of your feelings.
Yeah. And to feel like you can just have that. Like, you're not looking for a solution.
So let me say that would you want someone to tell you, because we imagine it's a client or friend or client friend, do you like it when people tell you that you're about to do that? Imagine that the person listening to this has some hurt feelings. Would you want them to be like, hey, I need to vent? So
yeah, I like that
don't
context.
need you to, I'm probably going to be more angry than I actually will be in 24 hours.
For sure. Yeah. I think giving someone context in what you're looking for, or, you know, I guess it just depends on the relationship, though. Like, I think sometimes with employees, contractors, peers, colleagues at work, you could just say, this is just really frustrating to me. Do you see, like, can you see where maybe this broke down, or where this miscommunication happened, or who do you think I should tell our boss? Or, you know, there's a lot of different, I think, tiers in the business world where I'm not going to go, if my feelings are hurt by a client or a vendor, I'm not going to go tell all my other clients. Like, I think that's odd. Immature.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that it's figuring out how to approach it. And there have been times where my feelings have been hurt in a professional setting, and I have had to fire a client or work through it and be vulnerable if I feel like that information is going to be received.
Yeah.
But other times where I don't think it's going to be. And sometimes I think getting your feelings hurt can show a level of maturity in the relationship and being able to work through it, but also show some true colors and make you realize that collaboration might not be the best.
So, step one, express with somebody that you have some safety around. Sometimes when I can't think of who that person would be or they're not accessible to me at the moment, I will you can journal.
Yeah,
or you can just,
write it down.
You gotta
true.
You gotta process some stuff out of your head.
Yeah.
Right? Second is decide if this person is worthy of being vulnerable with, and am I going to try and rebuild a bridge together, or is this not a place where I'm going to do that?
Right. I think in business, almost an extension of that is contractually, do you need to work through this, or do you have the freedom to move past it? Because there are times, there's so many scenarios. If your feelings are hurt by a vendor, a colleague, a client, you might not be able to just break it off, but you can talk about how to hit that new expectation of hey, we just need to get this contract wrapped up, or not.
Right. So someone screws you over, or you feel screwed over by somebody in business, or feel taken advantage of or disrespected in some way. Disappointed is a thing where you're I thought this relationship was something, and now I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
You think through, do I need to say something? Do I need to change my expectations? Do I need to find a different person to fill the role that person was filling?
Yeah.
Or do I need to can I heal this? Can I make it better?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of different ways to go forward with all of it.
And I think this step is really key in how you enter into that conversation. So if you're just one of those people that's very reactionary and you're oh, this person's just done, I'm done with them.
Yeah.
You're not probably going to allow yourself to be vulnerable or to reach any kind of reconciliation. So I think it's definitely important. It's checking your intention before moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So a couple things that we will do when somebody is, when this happens with a vendor, we will check with other people they work with. We're hi, this is an experience we just had. Is this pretty normal? Or is this unique to me?
Yeah.
Just professionally, you start to understand is this something that other people have experienced? Or am I being odd? Right. Am I the consistent thing here, or are they?
Yep.
And that is interesting sometimes.
Yeah.
Any client that we've fired, that we've been don't work with us anymore, almost always someone down the road 2 years later or a year and a half later shows up and is hey, you worked with them?
Or I had the same experience.
Really weird?
Yeah.
You're oh yeah, that is a pattern. And it's this relief of being oh, okay, so maybe this is how they are.
Yeah, you feel you're not it wasn't just me, You're
this is how they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I think that is it's hard, and when you want to be a part of a community, you can't just toss relationships out or flippantly make decisions. I do think that it's something that causes pause,
right.
Not to act so, so what's impulsively.
Yeah. There's some of that's not good. I think what I would really encourage people to do is, a lot of these are things that can be processed off of social media and offline and not publicly. And if you don't feel like you have anyone to talk to except your Instagram followers, I would encourage you to find or pay a business coach, partner, consultant, friend, therapist that you can go vent to very directly.
I totally agree. I think if you're
privately.
if you're just even thinking of your own marketing, I saw early in my career a lot of freelancers who would, not by name, but talk about their clients negatively on Twitter. And I was so confused by that. These are people who are paying you. Also, I wouldn't want to become a client of someone who, will you talk about your clients so negatively? I don't want to become that.
Yeah. I recently wrote a blog post about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it was born out of one of these situations where something had fell off in a relationship and I had my feelings hurt. And I wanted to it was the first time this has happened with this person. And I was like, you have this like anger inside of you that is where you want to cancel them. You want to be like done. You're like, they're out. I'm deleting them from my email. I'm doing all these things. I'm not going to care anymore. But that's also not the type of person that I want to be. I want to work through things when they happen, especially if it's the first time that's happened.
Right.
Because for the clients that we've worked with, where we've like worked through any of those hard things, or the teammates, people who are on our team who we've worked through a hard thing together, you realize that relationship gets really strong once you do that.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's easy to be in a relationship if everything's perfect. Like if you're if you don't have a chance to if you never do anything wrong, then that's just easy. Anyone can be in a relationship with people who are perfect.
When there's no friction, are you even going deep?
Truth. Put that on a shirt, hat, tote bag. Let's put it on a tote bag. If there's no friction, ring. Are you even going deep? On a class ring.
I don't know.
We should get some custom class rings put up in the shop. Dude, you're
custom rings. Those are like custom class
It's
rings.
The brand. It's the name of the brand.
No,
of the
I
rings.
like it.
Thanks.
I definitely think that that's true. It strengthens everything.
So that forgiveness is something of we invited the people into our office to meet with them, talk through the issues that were happening. They apologized for things. We were like, this is how this got off track. Yeah. And we got back on, we reset expectations, we reset communication, all these things. And the relationship can be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't continue at the same place, even if it's a client who maybe doesn't pay you as much,
right.
Or if it's a person who works on your team who doesn't work on your team anymore, you have this there's a real it's almost like when people are vulnerable in that way, there's a real honor almost of being like, we went through this together. I don't know what it's all going to look like in the future, but it's very human.
Yeah.
And in this whole idea of we want to do our business in a personal way, we've got to be able to work through stuff, and we've got to be able to say stuff to be like, when this happened, it made me feel, I don't like how this felt.
Yeah.
Or we're in this awkward position now where I thought this was going to happen. Maybe you thought something else was going to happen. And now we got to talk about it. And the best relationships are ones that you can work through in those. Some people, so there's this forgiveness piece, reconciliation piece. But then some people are not mature enough or not invested enough or any of those things to do that.
Yeah.
And there's probably some new boundaries that need set.
My, speaking of people to talk to, my own therapist talked about how all we can do is set an intention. If you think of tennis or something, and push the ball back towards the other person, we have no control over that though.
Right.
We can say hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't want it to be like this. But at the end of the day, the minute you release, that person's going to interpret it however they want. And you have to remember, whoever's listening to this, that is not, you can't have control over that.
Right.
You could have the best intention, apologize, and someone could still hurt your feelings more. Right. And that's not your fault.
Yeah.
I also think what you were saying made me think of, for a while, we would do things for our clients or for our peers, vendor. I keep saying professional network. There'd be times where we would do things and not say we were doing them, right? We would just hey, I'm going to just do this nice thing for you. You wouldn't even realize it.
We gave everybody free website maintenance package for life.
Free backups,
without
things
telling
like that.
anybody.
And that doesn't really, think of it like a personal relationship. If I was watering our plants secretly all the time, well, they would probably overwater it.
That's not happening.
It's not happening. I'm trying to think of something that wouldn't overwater something to death, but it would be me
let's
doing
use
something.
a more personal example. Let's say you secretly folded my clothes for me.
Yes.
Every night after I went to sleep.
Yes.
I had no possible way of knowing that you did that.
Yep. And if you came back with feedback about how your clothes were arranged, or if you were I wish you were doing this, it would make me feel a little off, because I'd say to myself, I'm doing all this behind the scenes. You don't even realize it. And so those hurt feelings are kind of in a vacuum, or what you're doing is so in its own little container and compartmentalized that your feelings being hurt they're not valid. Mm-hmm. You just never gave that person the opportunity to understand the full relationship.
Yeah.
And so I remember earlier this year, our challenge being like, if you do something nice for a client or someone else, you don't have to brag about it, but you should let them know, like, especially when it comes to how their business is running or, you know, things like that. And so if you provide like extra perks, or if you're thoughtful and like do something and you comp it, like just communicate it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think one of the things, as we've had more of a team, as we had more people on our team, back in the day when it was like the Adam and Allie show, and even before that it was just the Allie show, how quickly would you respond to an email from a person?
So quick.
Immediately, always.
Like before Gmail writes 1 minute ago.
Yeah. Like you would get an email, you respond to it always. How do you think clients felt when they got that level of service from you?
Very taken care of.
They felt so taken care of, because no one in the planet in their whole life can keep that up.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
No.
It is if you like work on a project and get done, it's over.
Right. But all the time.
Right. Then you have people come back later and be like, can you do this quick thing? And you're like, it's faster for you to just do it than to send another invoice or whatever.
Yep.
So you just end up doing that. Mm-hmm. And then so you have this, like, you have 100 past clients who are happy with you. And then you have 10 new clients. And then you have 110 past clients who are happy with you and want to do all these other things.
And then you have people who work for you.
Right. So one, it's not sustainable for you to deliver as a one person some of the people, I talk to the people who listen to this. So the people have small businesses.
Yes.
And they might take a lot of pride in how quickly they respond to something.
Yeah.
And just know that that's amazing at the beginning. As you go on over time, there's going to be this weird thing that happens where you're going to have to get comfy letting an email sit in your inbox for like 4 hours or 8 hours or 20 hours, and then responding to it accordingly.
Yep.
Especially if you have all these clients coming back to work with you and you have new people coming to work with you. It's just going to be too much.
Right.
It's good. That's what it's going to get to.
Right.
And that's okay. When you have a team, Allie, if you worked at a place and your boss looked at you and said, I want you to respond to all emails immediately, always.
That would be very stressful.
That would be stressful. That would be a horrible place to work.
Yeah.
None of us want to work at that place ever. So now we have people who work on our team and they're like, hey, how quickly do I need to respond to emails? We don't say, so whatever standard and things that our clients had become accustomed to, we then had to like wean people off of.
Right.
Because it's just not sustainable to act that way.
Yeah.
And so you create this, we didn't know that. It was one of the things we talked about. Sometimes we could go back 6 years ago out of not.
The precedent
you and I would have
set.
Even if you responded immediately, you would have scheduled it to go back out 2 hours later just to not like.
I remember that,
do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like now, as you were saying that, like if a client in that instance, if they're like mad that you took 2 hours to reply, that can hurt your feelings. It doesn't mean that it always will hurt your feelings, and it doesn't always mean that you should just say like, hey, you hurt my feelings because you had feedback about my emails. I think all of this really comes down to, I remember we worked with someone who once helped us think through like, if something comes up, like comfort them. So like, hey, you're right. Like I used to respond.
It's like a customer service thing, right?
Like,
it's like comfort boundary system change.
Yeah. Like I used to respond, as we've grown, that's just not sustainable. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
And then say like, from now on, like we check our email 3 times a day. So you're going to hear from us, maybe not all the time. And then internally, telling your team or talking to your business partner and saying like, this was communicated to the client. We don't want you to respond immediately. Like maybe we use Boomerang to send an email out a little bit later. So there's all these things that, depending on the day, certain things will hurt your feelings. Some things, sometimes it won't.
So that was like a thing you would have changed. What I would have changed back when we started, where I was like so personal, is I would meet with anybody for an hour, no matter what. I would always help, always, easily. And I enjoyed being that way. It was like fun to be that way. Just today, one of our neighboring businesses by our studio stopped in and was like, we were talking about, it was a person whose website we're working on, and their whole team was worried that we didn't get sent the copy that we were supposed to get sent this morning to start working and designing their website.
Yeah.
And they one of the people on their team was like, I woke up this morning worried that we hadn't hit our deadline to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, it's kind of odd to be on the other side of this, where back in the day, you and I would be like, oh, that's fine. It's totally fine. I would be so easy, adjustable, approachable, whatever, flexible, all this.
Yeah.
And now we have clients who are paying us, who are concerned. It takes space in their brain to be like, I gotta make sure I get them what they need when they need it, which makes our projects like a million times better than they used to be.
For sure.
They work better. They're more fun to do.
Yep.
It's collaborative. It's like all the best things. And it took me pulling back some of my, like, I'm always approachable and everything's fine and everything's good.
Like you can break all the deadlines.
You can break all the deadlines and whatever you need, I got, give it to you.
Yeah.
And so there's this thing of being like, as I've made it a little less personal, still personal, but as I've set expectations differently,
it makes
everything's
it
better
yeah.
for everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's a more realistic expectation of what am I going to become best friends with every single person we ever work with ever?
Right. Do you know how many best friends we'd have?
Too many. Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point.
But you can still be really good friends to people. You just,
yeah.
it's just not possible.
For sure.
So, to you, person who has hurt feelings,
yes,
it'll pass.
We
you
understand.
can get over it. You got to express yourself to somebody. Don't just bury that stuff down deep. Maybe you're listening to this and your feelings were hurt like 6 months ago and you buried it down deep and you need to get it out somewhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be on Instagram stories.
Right.
But somewhere. You need to think through, like, are those relationships healable, savable? Do you need to change your expectations for what it's going to be like in the future? Is there a different ceiling than there used to be?
Yep.
And though it's fun to be really personal with people, don't set yourself up for a lifetime of business and creative and,
yes,
stress because you set an overwhelming, unsustainable.
Yeah, almost like in that scenario, it's like you never want to get your feelings hurt, so you just you let a lot of things slide. Like, I think that can be something that's huge, is like, it kind of goes back to the, like, not going deep enough, but if you just say yes to everything, like, to avoid feeling offended or hurt or something, that's only going to last you so long.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen if you choose to run your business in a way that is human, that treats people like humans. You're going to have people on your team who develop and go off and do their own thing. If you give people the space to do that, they're going to say, like, it was super fun to be here and I've got some other stuff I'm going to go do now. And that's fine.
One of the best things I ever had was a boss who, my first day, was like, the day you leave, I will be so happy for you. I hope that you go on to do great things. And the day that I quit, it was like, I didn't have to think like, oh, I'm hurting his feelings,
Right.
It still can be a personal thing, but you can still want what's best for the other person.
The other thing that's true is when you give people maybe more space to be their own person and to be more human, is they can underperform. And you say, like, take all the time that you need, or what kind of space do you think you need, and you give a lot of flexibility. You might have people who abuse that space, or they might take advantage of it, or they might underperform during that time and just kind of like fall off the face of being productive for your team. And then you're gonna have a real conversation about, what does that all look like?
Yeah, when you start to incorporate feelings and you feel, no pun intended, but you feel like that is something that you want to integrate into your job or the business that you run, I think that all of that is asking for complexity. It's asking for people to, it's like any relationship. You open yourself up to it. You're just opening yourself up to possibly getting hurt or encouraged or loved or, supported, all of that. But it's like all of it. Yeah.
If you choose to do business in life in a way that's really personal, you're going to have your feelings hurt. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to, if you want to continue in the way of doing life that is personal and running business in a personal way, you got to be able to work through all of it.
Right.
Process through it. Talk to people who are safe to talk to. Process it privately.
Yep.
So you don't say the meanest, angriest things in the world on the internet. Think through what you need to do differently as far as what relationships are concerned.
Yep.
You need new boundaries. You need to set expectations differently.
Yeah.
And it'll get better over time.
It will. Which is that's the encouraging thing.
That's the encouraging thing. Just keep moving.
It's true.
It's the truth. Thanks for listening. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about, you can talk to us. Message us on any social network.
Or email.
Even if you message our Pinterest account, which I think...
You can.
Yeah. We'll see that. Not a lot of people do that. It's not like really built to be very conversational with your audience. But you can do it.
We're the Wonder Jam on everything.
We're the Wonder Jam on everything.
On every social network. And you can email us any of our names at thewonderjam.com.
And we'll respond immediately.
Or
that's not true.
A couple days.
We won't. We will respond accordingly. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Peace.